And we're back with Get Down to Business. I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Again, you can join me for speed networking at the Willis Tower on May 27th, right here in Chicago. Find out more information on that event and a lot of other great programs and events that we're running on my website at shalomklein.com. While you're there, you can follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. And we're all about social media. In fact, we're all about jobs, small business, and entrepreneurship. And speaking about jobs, we have with us here in studio Andrea Storz, who is a good friend, a career professional guru, the owner of ADMS Inc. Andrea, thanks for joining us here. Tell us about what you do.
This is so great, Shalom. This show is truly a jewel, and I think that people will walk away with information that will be incredibly useful for them in their job search. In addition to owning a business, I also am the Director of Employment Services at the ARK, which is a Chicago social service agency. What I do is I prep people. I teach them hopefully teach them how to conduct the most productive job search they can. And that covers a lot of territory.
It sure does. And every one of our listeners, I'm sure, knows somebody, a friend, a neighbor, a colleague, somebody that's struggling. And hopefully we'll be able to share some tips for whether you yourself need some of that advice, or perhaps you can share the content and the information with a friend. But I always say on this show, there's no recipe for success. There's no one thing that you can do.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
And I hope that some of this information can be helpful. And we're always looking for more advice, more information. Please, go through my website, shalomklein.com. Contact me and share your advice if you have some for us, and I'll be sure to share that with Andrea. So, Andrea, tell me about the worst resume you've ever seen. Don't share any names, please. The terrible thing is a lot of the resumes that I've seen that are not so great could be substantially better. Proofreading is your friend. Spell checker is your best friend. And I strongly suggest that before you submit a resume, proofread it 5, 10, maybe 300 times, and then give it to someone else to proofread and let them find the mistakes. It's a simple thing. It can be rectified. The formatting of a resume, the cosmetic ends of resumes, they do pack a punch. But the worst thing that I've seen about resumes is that many people, in their desperation, forget to establish a professional identity. If you do not have a direction, if you do not have a focus, if you don't know who you are professionally, your resume reads like one of those books you had to read in high school and you really didn't want to read it because it was boring and it was all over the place. You need to focus. You need to have a resume that highlights who you are, what you bring to the table, and yes, your accomplishments. And we've all seen those resumes where it says the stereotypical line, the objective.
Oh, bad thing to talk about with me. There's a big war going on. Do I use an objective? Do I don't use an objective? I'm speaking to a very bright audience. What is the objective, guys?
You probably want a job, right?
That's right. The objective is to secure the job that you're applying for. There's a big difference between an objective and a profile. Hit them in the face with who you are. Let them see how great you are, why you're the hero, what you can do for them. By the way, that's my mantra. It's not about you. It's about what you can do for them. And if you keep that in your brain as you're speaking, the listener, the perception that you are creating is a strong one. And the listener will note that.
So how did you get into this line of work?
I actually started doing this, and I'm kind of embarrassed about this. It was a supplemental situation, and I was like 22 years old, which is...
a year or two ago, right?
Yeah. Good. And when I look back on it, I'm kind of embarrassed because what does a 22-year-old know about employment? Virtually nothing. However, I loved writing the resumes, the cover letters, the marketing tools, the letters of introduction. That's where my strength was. And as I got older and experienced more, I started to spin this into a career helping people in developing themselves. And I have fallen in love with it. I'm passionate about it. I think there are so many people out there who just really need to sit down,
take an inventory of their skill set, and remember who they were. You know, Shalom, a lot of people I see are these middle-aged people, men and women, who were very successful, and all of a sudden they're facing joblessness. It's terrifying. It's maddening. People are angry. They're frustrated. I don't blame them. But once the anger, you got to put that on a shelf, and you have to focus on who you are and what you bring to the table. Writing your own resume is extremely difficult. I don't care how proficient you are at writing. I'm a professional writer. I send my stuff out. Not that I'm looking for a job. I just want to make that clear. But if I were to send my resume somewhere, I would send it to one of my colleagues. So,
absolutely, proofreading, get input from other people. That is critical. So let's get into it. What are the best practices for someone who may have just been laid off? What should they do?
I think they have to kind of not get into that dark place. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. You know, being unemployed is not only about getting unemployment and getting a job. It's a very emotional hit to the gut, and you have to maintain a certain sense of strength to get through it. The first thing they have to do is to establish, again, who they are and where they can go. Very often, let's take sales. If you're a 58, 59, 72-year-old sales rep, chances are you are not going to get the same type of position you held prior to the layoff, the firing, whatever. But you do have to kind of explore opportunity that is peripheral to your skill set. Do not abandon who you've been all these years. Just learn, investigate, talk to people, how you can spin it, how you can make it applicable, effectively applicable to other areas of industry.
And for somebody that's out of work, the advice that I've always heard is that people need to stay active. They need to volunteer.
Oh, my gosh. You know, first of all, maintaining a sense of schedule is absolutely imperative. You know, you set the alarm at 7:30, you look outside, it's a day like today, it's rainy, it's cold. You know what? I'll go back for 15 minutes. 15 minutes turns into 2 hours. You get up. You know, I'm kind of hungry. I'm going to run to the grocery store. Before you know it, the day is done. You've done absolutely nothing except sleep and eat. So my suggestion to anyone who is unemployed, you have to develop a sense of schedule, and you do have to keep it active. Volunteering is, you know, people hear this all the time in today's market. It's absolutely wonderful to do, especially if you're able to volunteer within your industry. So you will be able to tell the prospective employer in course of conversation, and it's also a wonderful thing to put on your resume that you have kept current. And let me tell you, that is extremely important, that you've kept current and that you're volunteering your time, not only because it's a feel-good situation, you want to remain active, but because you don't lose your momentum in the industry that you're in.
And applying for jobs online, is that a good use of time?
Okay, so I would be remiss, I would be negligent, I wouldn't be helpful by telling people don't apply online. Of course you should apply online, but if you're relying on that, not such a good thing. I'm sitting with Shalom Klein, who is the networking royalty, and I'm going to tell you that if you don't learn how to network effectively, your chances of securing work are lessened considerably. Networking can be a lot of fun. It's a challenge, and you have to learn how to do it. They're all different types of approaches, and go online. Online is your friend. Google is your best friend. Find out different ways to network, where to network.
But going online cannot be in place of getting out there in person.
Oh, my gosh. Going online is a necessity. It's not the integral tool. It used to be. No longer.
And the advice that I always share with people is for somebody that's starting a business, an investor would want to look at your business plan. When you're in the job search, you need to have a busyness plan. You need to have a schedule, a plan of action.
Absolutely.
So what resources would you recommend for folks to apply online?
To apply online? You're talking about websites? You're talking about... There is a website called Simply Hired, which I totally recommend because it covers all the all the job boards,
And do not sign up with anybody. You're unemployed. You have the time to look for a job. Don't let them choose the job for you.
There we go. We're going to be sharing some more career and jobs advice with Andrea Storz. Andrea's here in studio with us. You're on with Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein. You can find out more tips and advice on my website, shalomklein.com. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Get Down to Business. We'll be back.